Start, Nita.
Yeah, thank you so much. So as you can see, I call it a vicious cycle of warming. Um, so can you see something in front of you? This picture was taken in Kanapur, Odisha. Can anyone identify what is this?
Hand pump.
A hand pump?
That's right, hand pump. But look at where it is placed. I mean, that's sea, isn't it? That's salty
Mm.
water. So do you think it's the right place to have a hand pump? Speak if you want, because chat will
Not
take
at
time.
all.
Do
Not
you
at
think it's
all.
the right place? This is the right
No,
place on the
no,
sea beach? No, I
no.
don't think so, right? But do you look at that little yellow spot over there on the top, right? It's on a hill. That's the village mandir. And mandirs are normally on a higher pedestal. So this place where you see the hand pump used to be a village at one time. It's gone. So what you see is over here in the coastal region of Orissa and Bay of Bengal, there used to be these seven brothers, villages. They were. Now, out of the seven, only two remain. Five have been swallowed by the sea. And now we have Satyagraha and Kanapur that remains till now. So, can you tell me that I mean, these people once you were questioned that why this has happened to you. So they said that we never use any pesticides and fertilizers. In fact, there was a time when these people used to actually grow paddy over there, where you saw the hand pump, and they used to have coconut plantation. The only thing they bought from the market was from the cooking oil. Otherwise, everything they were able to uh, produce for themselves. They were self-sustaining people. And today that place is facing the rising sea level and wind patterns. There are high tidal waves which have been facing for the last 30 years. So you can see how much of soil erosion has occurred, that the village that used to be the land where the whole village used to be, the houses were all around, the sea has actually come closer and closer to them. With the result, people have actually left the village and migrated for greener pasture. I don't know how much green they're going to find in the pasture. And people who were in farming have changed their profession to now fishing. So, can you tell me what is the reason for any sea level rise? What's the reason? Why, when does a sea level rise?
Place
Global warming. Because of global
global
warming.
warming and the poles are getting melted. That ice layer is getting melted. So sea level rises.
When the ice melts, that's it. And when we talk about the ice melting and there's a thermal expansion, the water has to go somewhere, which is now in a solid stored form, which is 2.1% of the earth is frozen. When that melts, that has to go somewhere. And therefore, that water is rising because of this melting sea. So if you look at the glaciers, placement in the world, they're not only in the polar region, they're all over. And if you look at the icebergs and the glaciers, which iceberg is just a smaller part of a glacier, some of the glaciers are as big as a country. And what you see on top is just the tip of it. There's about 90% of solid ice which is below. So when these melt, they have to go somewhere. So we concentrate on the Antarctic and the Arctic. That's the chunk and the bulk of the frozen ice which we have. So can you tell me what is the difference between an Arctic and an Antarctic?
Arctic is the ice in Arctic is already floating in water. So when it melts, it does not contribute to the sea level rise. But
That's
Antarctic is land based, is on top of a land. So when it melts, it actually adds to the sea level.
fantastic. This is the first time somebody's actually answered this question. Thank you so much. I don't know your name, but kudos to you. So exactly that. If I have a glass, I don't know, I can't see myself. So can you see a glass in my hand? So if I have a glass in my hand and I fill it up with water and I then put some ice cubes in it, that floating ice is Arctic. But Antarctic is if I stack this glass with first ice cube and then add water, the land based ice is Antarctic. So that's the one which is making an impact, and that's, as I just now showed it to you, was 84.6% of our world is actually the Antarctic. So I'm going to take you to Antarctica, and I'm going to just take you to a part of Antarctica which is known as the Larsen Ice Shelf. And there is A, B, C, D, but I'm only going to concentrate on Larsen Ice Shelf B. And if you look at the Larsen Ice Shelf B from the sea level upward, the ice shelf goes up to about 721 feet. It's solid mass of ice, and people said that there's so much of solid ice in it that it'll take 100 years for it to melt. This was a picture of the Larsen Ice Shelf B, was taken in on 31st January 2002. A fortnight later and another fortnight later, the whole chunk of about 3,250 kilometers of that so-called ice solid chunk, which is going to stay for 100 years, disintegrated. So that is what is the impact of global warming we are having. And if you look at the Larsen Ice Shelf A, it had disintegrated way back in 1995. And people actually really didn't notice it until it was a Larsen B. And this year, January 26, it self-disintegrated and it's gone. Larsen C, which is the largest, is a huge, humongous, is already showing signs of breaking away. So this is the impact of global warming that we are facing now. So Antarctica ice is losing we have lost about 4 trillion metric tons of ice, and it's losing, and you're losing it at a very rapid rate. Even this is an unnamed Greenland in 83, and this is in 2013. So about 280 gigaton of ice are melting every year, and by inch by inch by inch, the sea level is rising at a very, very rapid rate, because these are all land-based ice. So both Antarctica and Greenland is melting 6 times faster than what it had in 1990s. So this is an alarming news for us, because people in the coastal region, especially now, like we have Bombay, we have Kolkata, we have Chennai, all these coastal regions are there's a massive threat to it. And when we talk about Himalayan glaciers, they're also melting, and their melting rate is double than what we saw it earlier. And there are billions of people who are actually relying on this for their drinking water. So there is a huge impact that we are facing, as people say that the next war, if there's a next war, is going to be fought on water and not anything else. So this is a beautiful planet. This is the home that we all share. It's not the 4 walls. We have to look beyond those 4 walls. It is this one we need to take care, because we do not have a planet B. So this picture was taken by the Apollo last mission in 1972 by a crew when they were moving towards the moon. And when this picture was taken, the sun was behind the Earth, and therefore such an illumination. In fact, this is known as the blue marble, and if you write it and you Google and search and you just write Earth, is the first picture that is going to pop up, which is most popular and very widely used. And slowly we are seeing the changes which is happening to our home. This is a NASA picture of the methane, which is the second most, but more deadlier than carbon dioxide, and as it is 30 times more stronger compared to carbon dioxide. So the question we need to ask ourselves is, must we change? Can we change? Will we change? So let's take the first question, must we change? Now, I'll take some science behind every time I'll move forward. I'll give you the science behind this global warming and the climate change we talk about. And this is the science, physics we had learned way back in our school, that something which is dark, the black surface absorbs heat, and a light surface reflects heat. And this is what happens on the Earth's surface too. So you see the polar regions, we have these ice caps over there. So if there is sun rays which are falling over there, about 85% of it gets reflected, because it's solid and it is white. That's one of the reason is, and only 15% gets absorbed, whereas it's just the reverse when it comes to the water that is surrounding it, where 93% of the heat from the sun gets absorbed. And what are we seeing right now? This ice cap is slowly shrinking. We have lost about 40% of it. You can see the size of it in 1984 and now in 2019. So you can imagine what is there in 2022. And therefore, the larger surface is becoming the one which is darker and which is liquid. Therefore, the waters are also getting warmer slowly. Skeptics said that the global warming has got nothing to do with any of the emissions which we talk about. That's we blame it on the carbon dioxide and the greenhouse gases and all. It is because of the distance from the sun, the Earth's position. So I'm not going to go into all the 8 or 9 planets because it keeps fluctuating. Sometimes it's 8, sometimes it's 9. But I'll talk about the first 4 planets. So Earth is on the 3rd position, as we all know. And if you look at its average temperature, it's about 15 degrees Celsius, right? I'm just talking about the average temperature. Can you tell me which planet is in the 4th position? Somebody can speak. Hello?
The Mars.
That's right. So if the Mars is in the, if Mars is that's right. If its Mars is in the 4th position, do you think its temperature is going to be higher or lower than the Earth's?
Should be high.
Lower.
Yeah, it'll be lower. Yeah, because it's away from the sun. So as somebody said, it's all to do with the distance from what we are from the sun. So yes, it's minus 55 degrees Celsius. That's the average we are talking about. And who is in the 2nd position?
Venus.
That's right. So if it's closer to the sun, obviously its temperature is higher compared to Earth and Mars. That makes sense, right? And who is the closest to the sun?
Mercury is the closest, so that's the hottest planet, I guess.
Absolutely. Mercury is the closest, so its temperature is what? I'm so sorry. It should be 761 and not 167. I'm so sorry for that error. Um, so have I made a mistake?
No, that's
I'm
correct.
not.
No, that's correct.
That's correct.
Correct.
That's
Venus is
correct.
Venus
And so
is the
the
hottest.
question is, what happens to the distance from the sun? That's what somebody said. It's nothing to do with anything we emitted. What about the distance from the sun? So Mercury is the closest, and its temperature is lower than Venus. The reason is very simple. Do you all see a ring around these planets? Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And do you see? So that ring represents the atmosphere of these planets. All these planets have their own atmosphere. And do you see the color blue? So the
Yes.
blue represents the carbon dioxide. In fact, Mercury has negligible, or rather, it has no carbon dioxide, and hence most of the heat gets reflected, because we know another physical property of carbon dioxide is to absorb heat. And that's why Venus, which has the maximum amount of carbon dioxide, absorbs the maximum amount of heat, hence known as the hottest planet. So it has nothing to do with the distance from the sun, but it's got everything to do with what is the composition of the Earth. And if you look of the atmosphere, and if you look at the atmosphere, this is a picture of the atmosphere from the seen from the Earth. It's a very thin and it's very vulnerable. So to understand how thin and how vulnerable, if I take a football and I put a nail varnish, one coat of nail varnish on it, what is the proportion of the football to the nail varnish? Is the proportion of the Earth to the atmosphere. And what are we doing to it? We are spewing it with 152 million tons of man-made global warming pollution into this thin shell of our atmosphere every 24 hours. We treat it like an open sewer. That is what we are doing. If you look at the man-made global warming and the greenhouse gases, maximum, most of them are due to our doing. So forest burning is not something which is uncommon. It is a natural phenomenon, but there are more forest burning due to our creation rather than the natural causes. With the result, the permafrost, which has stored and locked up the carbon dioxide and the methane, are now releasing them rapidly. So it's like a catch 22. It's like something which is happening, which is like causing a chain effect. And we are doing this for industrialization, for globalization, and for making more money, right? But remember, if you have the gold in one hand and you have the planet in one hand, which one will you choose? If you only go for the gold, then where will you live with that gold if you don't have a planet? We need to think in those lines too. So James Hansen in a TED talk in 2013 said, if we calculate the amount of global warming we are creating and the heat we are generating, it equivalents to about 400,000 Hiroshima atomic bomb bombarded per day for 365 years. And that was said in 2013. And if we calculate the same thing right now, it has gone up by 600,000. So as I said, 50 years of celebration of Earth Day has made no difference. It has just made the situation from bad to worse. Death attributed to ambient air pollution. Look where India stands. If we talk about the 20 most polluted cities of the world, 14 will be from India. So we are not doing anything because for us, the environment does not come first. The nature does not come first. It is we and our own selfish gain that comes first. And that way it does not work because 900 million people, they die every year just because of bad air we are breathing. So we look at the global temperature departure from the average from 1880 to 2020. You can see that around 1930 to 1970, late 1980, it kept on fluctuating, went up from the positive to the negative, the positive to the negative, and then from 1989, 88 onwards, it went straight positive. It went in the positive integer. So this looks is not a positive story for us because this is creating a huge havoc when we talk about the global surface temperature. So 19 out of 20 hottest years, if you have recorded ever since 2002, has happened every year. And if you look at the last 7 years, 2020 and 2016, they had a tie, and it was the hottest year recorded. In fact, last year, if you see, it tied with the sixth position between 2018, and places like we had Iran and Kuwait, Oman, UAE, the temperature went higher than 50 degrees Celsius. So I'm sure if somebody gives you a free ticket and say, okay, in the month of June, we will send you to Oman or Kuwait, go and have a holiday, I'm sure nobody will going to go for it because this is 2022 and we know exactly that we are already breaking records as we speak. America, if you remember last year, they spoke about Northwest America. They were spoke about heat waves. I mean, places where the temperature never rose above 25, max 30 degrees Celsius, went up to about 46, 42 degrees Celsius. These are record-breaking temperatures we are seeing. Sicily, where they relish these snails. I mean, they don't have to cook it because they have got cooked in the shells itself. These are the changes we are seeing. Siberia, Russia, in this place where the temperature never touched even 25, went up to, first time it went up to 38 degrees Celsius. We don't know what's going to happen this year. These are record-breaking temperature rise we are seeing. So when the heat rises, we know that the water also evaporates because it is directly related to it. But when the same moisture which is in our soil also faces the same amount of heat, the whatever moisture is there in the soil gets pulled up and it causes severe drought. How can we forget 2016? It was a shameful thing that a place like Latur, a train had to be sent because people didn't have water to drink. I remember there was a caution given to all of us in that year, where because that's the time, you play Holi in the month of March, and they said please don't play Holi with water this year because Latur is facing a severe water crisis, and that's a shameful thing. And for one day, there was a 0 day that was declared in Chennai in May 21st on 2019. So these are all signs that we are facing, and very recently now, Europe. I mean, we are talking about war, but before the war, they faced another war of water scarcity. And there were places where, after 500 years, they have seen droughts happening over there. California, we've heard about this for years now. It's been happening for 5, 6 years that they're facing severe water crisis and severe heat waves. And 6 states were faced 100% drought in last year. In fact, nearly half of California was in exceptionally drought condition. And when there is drought, another thing that California is facing is the fire, the forest fire. We talk about California burning, and they are not one or two, there are about 8,835 fires which it faced last year. We need to check the records again, what happens this year. So when the temperature rises, another phenomenon which goes hand in hand with it is the forest fire. That also increases, because three conditions which happen spontaneously is heat waves, no rains, and strong winds. These are the reasons which actually causes fires to happen. And Uttarakhand, which is supposed to be the hills of India, the cool places, face 7 days of horrendous fire, not in one places but in several places, and not much was actually said and publicized in the news because they did not want to create any panic. But scientists says that this has led to a record-breaking carbon emission since 2003. It's not recent; it's since 2003. So we need to think about what is going wrong. A black summer which Australia faced for nearly a 1 year. It continuously burned, killing billions of indigenous animals which are only found in this Australian island. And how can we forget the the Amazons, the lungs of world? That's what we call it, isn't it? And 2020 surpassed it by the whatever the fire incidents by 2019. It's creating havoc. Not much data is now available because of the pandemic, and so they are holding on to it. But we need to ask ourselves what causes fire. Yes, natural, yes, spontaneous, but 84% of the fire happening around the world is because of us. We have set fire to a forest. Why? Isn't that profitable? Isn't the forest profitable? Isn't the biodiversity in the forest profitable to us? Isn't those animals and the creatures, no matter how big, no matter how small, aren't they important to us? I guess it is not. It is not, because what is more profitable is infrastructure development, turning forest into agricultural land. And what is ruining our world right now is going for animal agriculture. We are making it as an industry, and studies have said that animal agriculture is a source of about 51% of our greenhouse gases, because when we go for animal agriculture, more than carbon dioxide, it is the methane gas which is creating havoc. So people are now focusing on methane gas. There are people in denial, but that is what is creating the havoc in our world, because that is about stronger than carbon dioxide when it comes to the damages. So by the time I finish this talk with you, somewhere in the world, 4,000 football-sized forests have disappeared, and they're disappearing at an alarming rate every hour. And this is something which is very sad, because this creature in front of you is not important to us. That's not profit when it comes to human. And we are going to lose about 50% of these land-based species in our country by the end of this century. So climate change is the biggest global health threat of the 21st century also. It's related to both the thing. It's not only the heat. And we know we are already facing the pandemic. These creatures who are supposed to be in the forest, we are supposed to be away from them, and now they are next door in our market. And 75% of all new emerging infectious diseases are zoonotic now, meaning they are transmitted from animal to human, because we have lost that distinction and the demarcation between them and us. And therefore, we are facing the problem. There was a time when we used to go to a hill station to recoup and regain our health. Now, if you do that, you will come back with dengue or malaria, which never existed before. But now they're spreading. The tropical diseases are spreading everywhere because of the global warming. So 93% of the extra heat that is trapped by man-made global warming pollution goes into the ocean. Another concept, water has the highest latent heat capacity. And the same records you will see again in our water temperature, which are now becoming warmer and warmer and warmer. So as the temperature increases, the ocean evaporates more and more moisture into the sky. And when we say water vapor, let me tell you, water vapor is also a greenhouse gas. So it will do exactly the same thing as methane will do, as well as what carbon dioxide will do. So when this water vapor is formed, more greenhouse gases are formed, and that will create that loop and create more heat, and more evaporation will take place. And therefore, that song which we used to sing, Rim Jhim Barse Pani, Tip Tip Barse Pani, we can't sing it anymore. Because now we talk about cloud burst. We talk about thunderstorm, and it's happening rampantly. Whenever it rains with a thud. We cannot forget this day. And this picture has become an iconic picture when it comes to floods. So this happened in 2013, but ever since 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 2019, 13 states faced the floods. So earlier it used to be one or two states. Now we talk about several states which are reeling under the flood situation when the monsoon begins. And even there are pre-monsoon floods, there are post-monsoon floods. So if you look globally, floods and extreme rainfalls have events have occurring 4 times higher than 1980. Remember, the 1980 was a time where the heat, the temperature started rising without looking back at all. So when the ocean heats up, the water temperature becomes warmer, the wind velocity increases, and it picks up a lot of moisture, and therefore the intensity of the hurricane also increases. Can anyone tell me what is the minimum ocean surface temperature needed for any hurricane to fall, to even start? What's the minimum temperature the water should heat up to? Anyone? Any guesses?
27.
You're very close. It's 26.5 degrees Celsius from 50 meters from the surface. 26.5. That's nothing. That's nothing. Can you tell me also which is the warmest ocean? Which is the warmest ocean out of all the oceans? Which is the warmest?
Pacific.
Pacific. If you look at the geography, it's connected with the glaciers. So
Indian
it
Ocean.
can't be. Sorry.
Indian Ocean.
Absolutely, the Indian Ocean, because it's not connected. So it is the Indian Ocean, and its range is from 19 to 30 degrees Celsius. And I said hurricane starts at 26.5 degrees Celsius. In fact, this is the latest temperature. Earlier, the temperature used to be around 17 to 27. and now it has risen to 19 to 30 degrees Celsius. So when I looked back at the Wikipedia and I was looking at the data of the number of hurricanes, I found nothing from 1890 to 1950s. From 1960s to 1980s, there were 8 strongest storms which occurs. Now, if you look at 1990s till date, can you tell me how many storms have occurred? Take a guess. Every year, how many have happened? It's 2 to 4 every year. It started with one. When I first read this record, I used to first mention it as one every year. Now my latest change number has changed to 2 to 4 every year. Do you remember the Amphan and the Nisagra? It happened practically simultaneously within a span of 5 days. And one was occurring in the Arabian Sea, the one in the Bay of Bengal. Simultaneously, we had it. And Amphan created a havoc. It was a category 5, devastations everywhere. In fact, just before the Amphan, a warning was given, and it haunted the cyclone, haunted which was expecting after 21 years the Bay of Bengal region of Orissa, Satyagraha and Kanapur. They started leaving their village because they knew that havoc is going to become. But of course, the landfall was not over there. But this picture, do you remember? I started with this picture. That was Kanapur, and this is Satyagraha, the other brother, the other surviving brother, the other village. And look at this amount of soil erosion which has happened in this village. That's the hand pump in Satyagraha. And it is the fastest eroding beach in the Bay of Bengal. So soon it's going to be Kanapur left and Satyagraha will be swallowed because we are heading towards it. So climate change will likely lead to flood, water shortage, pandemic diseases, disputes over refugees and resources, and destruction by natural disasters in the region across the globe. This was said in 2014, and we are facing the pandemic now. When it comes to refugees which are leaving their homes, there are about 10.3 million people displaced every year. This is happening, and this is 4 times more than what conflict has caused. This is climate change. It is because of climate change people have to leave their homes and move out. So if you look at the cost of carbon, there is political instability, there are floods, wildfires, drought, storms, acidification, infrastructure, climate refugees, and we have so many famine, water scarcity. I have not touched about on all of them. I've just touched few because we have time is short, and much more. But all this is definitely has a number one threat on our global economy because everything depends upon economy. But as I said, we need to strike a balance between that gold bar and the planet Earth. Unless we do that, we are going to face consequences. So, can we change? Is the next question that I ask. Of course, we can. We have seen it in the pandemic, haven't we? We have seen that wildlife coming back. We could actually hear the birds chirping outside our window, which we normally don't hear. Now we are back to routine and we don't hear the birds chirping. So this is what we can do. And for this, whatever I go to preach over here, I practice it. I handle trees and safety disputes. I'm not going to go into solars and windmills and green energies and all things. I mean, this is something which is we are doing it anyway. Our government is doing it, our organizations are doing it. But what I'm going to speak over here, what you and I can do it in our personal level. And I'm going to come to something which nobody wants to speak about, and that is waste management. And it's no rocket science. So it was nearly about 2000, in early 2000, I visited this place. This is the Ghazipur, landfill in Delhi, and it's a huge, tall this thing. And it was when I went there with my students on a project, and it was a horrible sight to see how people are actually rummaging through the garbage over there, infested with all sorts of maggots and rotten smell, and I could smell that smell on myself for weeks together, even after I came back home. It was a horrible sight, and these landfills are there in every city, not one, not two, but in the multiples of four, five. So the question is, why does a landfill stink so much? Is it because of the plastic or the glass or the metals? Or is it because of the food that we throw it out from our homes every day? That kitchen garden and the garden waste which are throwing it, they are not only polluting our air but polluting our soil as well as our water. What if we stop throwing that outside and learn to handle and treat it within our boundaries? Then do you think those birds which are hovering around there are going to be there because they won't get any food from the non-biodegradables? So if we can learn to handle our biodegradable, then our stinky landfills can become a resourceful, and this is a huge opportunity. Waste is a huge opportunity. And in order to do that, I do a mantra of 3+5. First thing is you will learn to segregate your waste at source, and you have to segregate them into three categories according to the guidelines given by CPCB. Biomedical waste, the recyclables, which a kabariwala will be happy to take it from you, and the compostable, which I just told you, which causes the stink. And the compostable, then I handle it in the 5 mantras of sharing, feeding, bioenzymes, and seed banking and composting. I'll quickly go through this before I end my talk. So when I talk about biohazards, remember these are the people who come to your doorstep to pick up your garbage. They are the second most important human shield to COVID shield after the health workers, of course. If they sit at home, if they fall sick, then we are going to be wallowing with our mouth. So a request to everyone, if there is any COVID patient or if there's any patient otherwise, please double bag it, tie the mouth, indicate that it is a biohazard. If there are any sharps, even it comes to your diapers and sanitary napkins, they are also biohazard. If a person is infected, the germs, the virus stays in that too. So it has to be contained, it has to be fumigated and then handed over to these people to take care of it. And when it comes to the recyclables, I call recyclable is nothing but pesa, 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 pesa. And according to a Financial Express in 2020, they said it's nearly 10,000 crore industry it is going to become in 5 years, because this, what you see in front of you, is nothing but a misplaced resource. We need to place it in the right way. When it comes to the compostable, I use my 5 mantras, and one of them is definitely that one needs to actually, if there's any extra food, not leftovers, extra food, then share it with somebody. Maybe somebody will not go hungry at night. The rest of it, when there are leftovers from your plate, I live in Mumbai. I live in the fourth floor. I do not have dogs or any pets. These are my pets. I call them my flying dogs. All the bones and the eggshells and leftover food, I put it in the tray and they come eat it and they go away. Remember, crows are not resident. They will not stay with you. They're never, no animal is interested in human beings, let me tell you. They'll eat, feed, and they'll move on. When it comes to the seeds, we enjoy the fruits by I never throw my seeds in the dustbin. I sow them. So my balconies are my nurseries, and once the plants grow to a certain height, then I transplant it in the ground. We are staying in a hospital complex, so I've got a place. So what you see, that papita in front of you is my 5th generation papita, and we are still enjoying the fruits. So please remember, it's the plant. The food comes from the trees, from the plants. We are not going to get any food if we are going to destroy our soil or our seeds and our plants. So bank on these seeds. That's my message to you. The peels, whatever peels we have, I make bioenzymes. I've chopped the chemicals in my from my house. I use bioenzyme for cleaning my dishes, my homes. Even I use it to fertilize my garden, and the rest of the waste I compost. I've been composting for last 18 years. So when I see a landfill burning somewhere because of the methane gas produced by the decomposition of the biodegradable, I know it is not because of me, because I have stopped throwing my biodegradable and handle it, treat it, and take care of it within my home premises. So if you look at India, imports about
Nita, just to say a time check, we have 10 minutes left.
okay,
Just
yeah,
thought to be brief on
yeah, it's going to finish in 10 minutes, within less than 10 minutes. So if you
that.
look at this if you look at this I lost my flow. So anyway, so if we convert, we use a lot of foreign exchange to buy our fuel, our crude oil, right? We import it, and if we convert it by carbon atoms, it's about 350 million tons of carbon atom. But if you look and you compare it, 500 million tons of carbon atom worth, what we can convert it into crude oil, we waste it, we throw it, use it as an unwanted waste. This is what is a misplaced waste and all. So there are potentials, there are technology which is available and we can use it, where we can actually use our used cooking oil. I give a talk on Ruco, that is repurpose use cooking oil, and we've started this movement in my hospital itself. I've connected with people where every drop of oil that is used, do not throw it down the drain, but we collect it in our drums and we send it for converting it to biodiesel.
So
So
Nita,
this
just to update you, even we in Tech Mahindra also just before the lockdown collected all the plastic waste and given it to the Rudra Foundation for converting into the biofuel. So we are
fantastic.
already into that part.
Fantastic. So you know about the polyfuel. So you can actually please join the Ruco movement also. There's an article I've written on Naruco Rukoko. So if you want, you can check that, and please join this Ruco movement, because this is going to become mandatory in another year or two. It's going to become mandatory. You cannot by law. It's actually not permitted by law to throw any oil down the drain anywhere. All right. And of course, the biogas plants, now you have biogas plants, you can even set it up in your balcony. You don't need huge spaces. And of course, you can use the garden waste to make your briquettes and your pellets and even biochar, which is much better than this thing. So will we change? It's my last thing I'm coming to. We know exactly what is the importance of oxygen. There are people who are voicing it. I heard people talking about trees being cut and they don't know what to do, and they feel it, they feel bad, but you need to voice it. If you use your voice at the moment when it is happening, that's when it can stop. But if we silently say, oh my God, what's happening, hona nahi chahiye, then it's going to carry on the way it is carrying on. So it's important to join those who are using their voice, their votes, their choices to fight for their future, their community, and their world. And if can somebody tell me which is the most found litter on the planet? This is the last question. Most found litter on the planet.
Plastic.
Plastic,
Yes, a
Plastic.
plastic. And which form of plastic? Do you know that?
Bottles.
Cigarette
carry bag,
butts.
Water bottle.
bottles.
Cigarette butts. 4.5 trillions of them. Cigarette butts. So this is Nirit Datta, who is right now and tomorrow. He's going to, if you're going to Goa, please go and join him. He's doing a butt rush where he brings in awareness about the cigarette butts, which is nothing but a cellulose acetate. It's a form of a plastic which is not only toxic, but it also has heavy metals, and they're polluting our water bodies. So the water we are drinking from a tap is a polluted water because we have thrown a muck into it. So we need to realize this. So use your voice, your vote, your choice, and speak the truth to power, like the world depends on it. So I'll finish by saying that a grandfather and a grandson were walking down this beach in Juhu, and all of a sudden a wave comes in and brings in thousands of these starfish. So the grandson gets very excited. He runs, he picks up the starfish, throws it back into the sea. He does it again, he does it again, and the grandfather gets angry. He says, "Kya kar rahe ho? What are you doing? Why are you wasting your time? We are here for a walk. Just forget about it. What difference can you make? Just leave it and let's continue with our walk." So the grandson looks at his grandfather, turns around again, picks up another starfish, throws it back into the sea. turns back and says, "Grandfather, I just made a difference." So no cause is lost as long as there is one person to fight for it. Remember, as I said, this is our home that we all share, and we need to take care of it. And what is in front of you is Sare Jahan Se Acha. Thank you. Jai Hind.
Thanks, Nita. It's a really wonderful and interesting session. There are so many things which we were not aware, at least I will speak for myself. I was not aware and will come to know through this session. It's a really wonderful and insight on the climate, how actually it is impacting our life. Uh, in the audience, if somebody wants to ask some questions.
I
So,
just stop sharing. I have to stop sharing. Yeah. Is it
Yeah,
stop
hi
yeah,
sharing?
Anita, this is Syed here from
Yeah, hi.
Bangalore. Yeah, I am Assistant Vice President Facilities. I look after all sustainability across Tech Mahindra.
Wonderful.
Yeah, it's very nice session. I think is detail your very neatly explained how to reuse whatever items getting waste of generation. Could you please share these slides to us so that we also have go through our under people?
So he's already recorded, so you
Yeah, I
have
think
the
Philip sir
slides.
has already
Yeah,
recorded it.
he's recorded, so
Oh,
he'll share it with you.
yes, nice, very nice. Thank
Thank
you
you.
for your time. Yeah.
Can you please show your contact details, if possible, again?
Uh, Contact detail, you want me to go back?
that I will
Yeah, the
share it.
previous slide.
I will share on the MyBit. We will be posting one post on the MyBit. I will share Nita's credentials there.
Okay.
Sure. Okay.
Nita, I hope you will not mind if I will sharing your
No,
contact
no,
details with
I
this
am in a
forum.
I'm in a Shramdan mode. I'm a totally Shramdan mode. So I'm
It's
here.
available online also. Just search her name. That's it. Google it.
Hmm.
You'll see a lot of videos which I've created for children, and it's amateur videos, which whatever I feel like. So on my bioenzyme, how to make bioenzyme, how to do composting, it's all there. You just write Nita Ganguli, author. I've written some books. You can see my books at the back, children's books which I have. So and I have no problem sharing my email or my phone number. As I said, I'm on a Shamdan mode.
Okay.
Hi Nita, this is
Ankush.
hi Nita, this is Ankush. Thank you
Hi.
for the wonderful session. It is a much needed and most needed topic of this time, and people don't think much about it and talk much about it. So thank you so much for highlighting this up. I also had first-hand experience of climate change. I lived in London for 3 years, and I can feel the difference myself. When I was there for the first year, I didn't see a fan there. Fan is unheard of in UK, but in the 3 years I can see that no one can sustain there without a fan. The fan just sprung over all over the UK. So you emphasized on that we really need to think about what is going wrong. And growing up all my life, I've spent countless numbers of hours thinking about what is wrong, and what humanity needs to do to fix it. So I'd like to share my thoughts about it. Just I'll take a minute. So I initially used to thought that it's a technology problem, uh, but later I realized that the technology to solve this is there, and it is already there for 25 years now, and it is not a technology problem. Then my thinking evolved about it, and I realized that it's a political problem, that the readers come in picture for just a 5 year short tenure. And if any politician goes on saying to cut back on meat consumption or gas consumption, then it is a political suicide. So there will not be any political will to do anything about it. So that's why climate change cannot be solved because of political problem. But then I realized it's not even political problem. I then realized it's a human collaboration problem, that people can't work for collective benefit without financial incentives. So the capitalism, I realized that capitalism is the driving force which is pushing us into this problem. But then I realized that it is not even human collaboration problem. Then at the end I realized that it is a human training problem. We're training our society to stay high. What is staying high? For example, alcohol. What does alcohol do? It takes us away from reality and puts us in illusion. So alcohol is just one example of us staying high, which means putting us away from reality and put one in illusion. because reality may be distressing, but illusion is comforting. You can create the illusion you want, and it is always comforting. So, what are the other things which are creating illusion? VFX, Marvel movies. So, is Spider-Man real? No. What about Batman? No. How about Spider-Man or Iron Man? No. But they are illusion, right? But we are giving our youth and now in even adults to keep just looking about them, right? So we are increasing the illusion in the society, and we are giving them a escapade where they can go and they can just be happy with adding one type of illusion or the other type of illusion, or the kind of illusion which they are comfortable about, not not so substance abuse is not the only kind of illusion which we add in our lives. There are multiple.
Ankush, can you come to the conclusion because we have
Yes,
a
my
time check.
conclusion was
I
that
really appreciate, and Nita has just now mentioned about that, about the grandson and the his grandfather's story. So it is
just
same thing what you are just mentioning. Yeah,
yeah, I was just coming
go
up to
ahead.
the conclusion. So my conclusion was that it is not you know a technology problem or a political problem or a human collaboration problem. It's a human training problem. We are training our people to live in
Agree.
illusion by means of VFX movies, increasingly addictive porn, increasingly YouTube time spent, increasing meat addictions. So we have to bring people back to reality and not train them to live in illusion, whichever they are comfortable with. So only when people are trained to live in reality, they will try to fix the reality. Otherwise, they will always run from reality. And that's what I have been, I've been, scratching my hairs all my life by, by addressing this, by taking this problem of climate change to people, and making people feel important, feel this important, but they don't feel this important because reality is always distressing to them, and they have find escape to live in illusion by means of all these things which I just mentioned. So we have to, as you said, that 50 years of Earth Day celebration has resulted to nothing. So what about we change our approach and we try to celebrate no VFX week, because a day does not do anything to cultivate any habit. So instead of celebrating Earth Day, we may think about tweaking the approach and celebrate no VFX week, or no porn week, or no YouTube week, or no 24/7 week, news week, or no meat week. So if we try to do that, we may solve, we will help, it will
Yeah.
help us to solve the
So
human problem,
on top of this,
and
Ankush
the
question,
solving the
Sunita.
climate change can be consequential for it. We cannot just fix climate change in isolation. We have to fix the human training problem, and the climate change will be
I
consequential.
agree,
Thank you.
Ankush. I
Thank you.
agree. It's a human training program. So on top of it, what Ankush rightly highlighted, Nita, you are a part of the government council and on the sustainability or climate change. What the India government is doing to promote awareness about the environment or climate change, particularly at the root level, ground level, that awareness into the school, are there some topics are being adding into the curriculum, rightly said by the Ankush, if it needs to be a training session. So are we doing some kind of those session into the school level or the college level? That should be a kind of mandatory for each and every standard. It's
So,
something that kind of things is coming up.
there's a lot of difference between uh, what is on paper and what we practice. So when it comes to
Yeah.
on paper, we have the best laws and the best syllabus and the best thing, but when it comes to practicing it, we don't. We just rote read it and we produce it and vomit out in our examination. So that's not the thing. The thing is that we need to actually go back to our roots. That is what is important. uh, if you check back your grandparents, all right, and there was a time when even my mother did that. When a soap used to get over or used to get small, we used to get a new soap, but she used to stick the small old one on the new one, and then we continue using it. So the first soap is used right till the end, and we continue with this thing. So you go back to your roots, you go back to what your nani and your dadi used to do. There was always consciousness and there was always conservation. All right. The problem started when we started aping the West. So this use and throw culture has come in now. It was not there when we were kids. When I'm now 58, so I've never done this use and throw culture. I remember my father. He was a professor in FMS Delhi University, and he is a business industrialist. He was, and a psychologist. And when he used to get a lot of greeting cards in in the New Year's and Diwali and other, so we used to preserve those cards. And our birthday is this, so this is in December we are getting in, and the next year September was our birthday, and I'm a twin. I have an identical twin. So we used to make caps out of it and repurpose it, reuse it to make invitation cards. So that concept was brought in by our parents because they have learned it from their parents, and I have given it to my children. So you see, my father used to say another very important thing. Like, he spoke about habit of getting into the substance uses, and habit of getting into watching too much of imaginative films and all. And my father used to say that habit is HABIT. You remove H, a bit remains. You remove A, it remains. You remove I, a cup of tea remains. But by the time you remain tea, you don't remain. So we have to make sure that this habit formation, which we are giving it to our children, easy way of is make them sit in front of a television because we are too busy to take care of them. We have to think about that. So what we inculcate, what we teach in our school is not good enough, because the teachers who are teaching this subject, which is well laid down in our syllabus, don't practice it themselves. So this is something which needs to become a habit. So I say, like, we are facing a pandemic, we need to make it to keeping environment as advantage first. That's my priority. It has to become an habit, and it will only come if we are conscious about it. So my request to all who are listening to me is, ask yourself, how am I contributing in saving the environment? What can I do? Start with something one, and then you'll see automatically it'll go to 2, 3, 4. Be conscious, because this, as I said, this is our home. Unless we are conscious about our home, if we keep ourselves prioritize our need as first, then we are only going to as Gandhiji said, the earth cannot take care of our greed. So it is important that we are conscious. So as the discussion was going on before about the tree cutting, about the garbage throwing, take that step and stop it there and then, nip it at the bud. Then only there's going to be some. So take action. That is what is important. Let's not talk about what the government is doing. So when we point a finger, we have those three fingers pointing towards us. If we are going to wait for what the government is going to do, if we're going to wait what the organization is going to do, if we're going to wait what my institute is going to do, then it's going to be too late. So we need to take action, and the action has to be taken by me. So it's my waste, my responsibility. It's our responsibility, because this planet belongs to me. Unless that belongingness comes, nothing will happen. We'll only do webinars, we'll only do workshops.
Correct. True. I really agree with you. And it's a wonderful session. I can see the chat window. It is full of uh, all the chats thanking you for all the wonderful session and getting the knowledge out of it. So it's a really good session, Nita. I really appreciate, and on behalf of the Tech Mahindra, I will extend thanks to you. Before concluding this session, if you permit me, I will be taking you to the rapid round of the questions.
Okay.
So it will be some questions. I will come with the two options, and you have to opt one of it. So there is no third options available with you.
Okay.
Are you okay or comfortable?
Yeah, yeah.
It's
But
not much.
I'll speak what my mind tells me to speak. I'm a very
Yeah,
impulsive
yes, sir.
person, so I can't help it if you don't like my answer.
Yeah. So the first question is on the rapid round is if you had been given the choice to be brand ambassador for Save the Soil with Sadhguru or the Swachh Bharat Abhiyan of Narendra Modi, which will you choose?
See, okay, I have to do it rapid, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Can I take both? I can't take
No,
both.
no, no. It's a one option. That's what I said. It is one option. You have to choose.
Then I'll go for Swatch because if they Swatch, then the soil also gets cleaned.
Okay. The second question is if you had been given a choice to rejoin the school as a headmistress and doing again back to the same profession or giving a council or the membership into the Rajya Sabha and doing that things, what will you choose?
Can you just, because your voice got cut, can you say it again?
You had been given an option to again doing some social work for the environment and the Rajya Sabha birth from the government of India. Which will you choose?
So I'll take one what is more powerful, where I can make more difference to a larger, audience. So I'll take Rajya Sabha.
Okay. So the another question is on the solar energy. So there is a electric vehicle is more in popular and now our tourism minister or there are so many transport minister Nitin Gadkari also emphasis and you also highlighted on the alternate of the petrols. So whether it will be the electric vehicle or the alternate source like the biofuel or polyfuel, which will you choose
I'll
from
go for
electric and
I'll go for the waste to fuel.
okay, that's a really nice to understand because that will be a kind of recycling. It's not
Yes,
only that producing, but the recycling. So I really appreciate your thought on that.
because
The
electric
mine,
vehicle also has a lot of carbon footprint.
correct,
Procuring it has a lot of carbon footprint.
correct. I agree with you. The another, the last questions from my side is, if you had been asking to represent a team of India, which field you will choose and so there are so many forums available, maybe into the environment part of it, or you want to work into the eco-social friendship with the other countries, which forum you will pick up on the environment front or the eco-social connect front?
I'll take the eco-social. I can make a bigger impact.
I totally agree with you. So
So
that's
I
all
just
and
make
from
an
my
impact.
side.
My
I
whole
agree. I
mission is to
agree.
make it. I used to be a school teacher and I left my job. I had a very good job. I used to be a headmistress also. I left my job because I thought I was feeling that I was only constraining to one school, one parameter. So when I left, I reached out to a wider audience. So my whole idea is the Shramdan is to reach out to as many people as possible and change as many mindset as possible. So that's why I'm going for all this. What you're offering me.
Thank you, Nita. It's a really wonderful session, and we are really thankful for giving your time on this Earth Day. We all committed that whatever we can do, we will do something from our side to make our Earth more environment friendly.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me. I thoroughly enjoyed. Thank you. I think it's stuck. Yeah,
Hello.
yeah, I'm in
Thank
between.
you, Nita.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank you so much. Thank you. And happy Earth Day to all. Please celebrate Earth Day every day. Earth Day has to be celebrated every day. It can't be only today.
Yeah, yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks everyone for joining the session.
Thank you, Nita.
Bye
Thank
bye.
you so much for taking out time, giving us time, letting us know so many things about environment, waste, and all the topics that you have touched today. I
Thank
am
you.
really happy at a very short notice you were available for us, and we didn't know who to go to and what to do in the last 2 days. And all of a sudden, your name pops up in my head, and everybody is like, ah, yes, let's get Nita Ganguli. Somebody even started Googling you, and there's, oh, yes, definitely Nita Ganguli has to be there. Then,
Thank you
then
so
what? Then everything just rolled out very
No, no,
well. Thank you so much.
I always say if anyone contacts me and say you give me a presentation now, I'm ready. I don't need any time to prepare. I can
We
do
are going
it.
to get you back again on one of the,
Sure, I would love to.
environment friendly days.
I would love to do that. Yeah, definitely.
Definitely. I'll get in touch with you again.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye bye. Take care and stay safe.
You too, Nita. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Nita. Thanks for very
Thanks, Dilip.
informative session. Have a
Well,
good day. Have a good day, everyone. Thank you.
thank you. I'm off to Pune today. I'm off to Pune for a there's a youth sustainable farm festival which is happening in Symbiosis. Anyone wants to join in, please in. I've given details to Mr. Mathur, so you can take it from him. And there's also they're having stalls on various products as well as e-vehicles, which I didn't opt for. So you can join in. Those who are in Pune, please join in. This is on Saturday and Sunday, starting early morning, 8:30. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thanks, Nita. Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks, Dilip. Thanks, guys. Thanks, guys, for joining the session. It was an incredible session. Thank you so much. Happy Earth Day.